Hello, world. Anyway, we were having a chat and a glass of wine, and we decided why not put it on video in case we have anything to share. In fact, the topic of conversation was what to share with our folks. So, yeah, where did we leave off?
Well, we were talking about how a big problem that we're finding over and over again is that people are concerned about whether or not they actually have the ability to change. That feeling of it's just always going to be this bad and there's nothing I can do about it seems to be a theme that I've heard a lot of times. I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, it's interesting to consider that foundational thing because a lot of times people want to change. They have the ideas and they have the reasons to change and even a good sense of what needs to change, but they feel that perhaps they haven't been able to in the past and that they never may be able to. So I definitely find that that's a foundational thing, and what we're noticing is that can affect a person's willingness to commit to a plan to improve their lives. And I think in the scheme of things it's unfortunate because it might stop people dead in their tracks before they embark on what might be a real breakthrough journey. So.
And just because it hasn't worked in the past doesn't mean it's not possible. I mean, the reality is that if you do have the right support system, then you can make that change. Change is possible with the right people that are on your side. If you're constantly going back to the same people all the time that are giving you misinformation, and maybe the cause of some of the issues that you might have been having to begin with, how do you expect them to help you move on and change? That could even be your own self. If you rely on yourself all the time to know better and make the changes, well, how has that been working for you so far? And for most of us, having an outside source to help us through is what helps us to change. Realizing the change is possible, deciding to make a change, and then going through the process of making the change, reaching out to whoever you need to, and actually making the steps, the action steps that you need to do to make those changes.
I really think it comes down to understanding what motivates a person. If it's a matter of making change in your life, it's got to be something that is, sparks a passion within you. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really the key. And that's why I think a big part of the coaching process is to expose people to new ideas, new ways of being, new mindsets that could propel them to total success with whatever they're looking
And I
for.
think really asking your question, why? Why is it that you want to make this change? One of the questions I ask my clients when I first start with them is always, well, how will things be in a year from now if you don't make this change? And, what I hear a lot of times is it's going to be pretty bad. It's going to be awful if I stay feeling this badly or if I don't change the situation that I'm in. So what is your why? What is your reasoning for wanting to make that change?
Well, that said, I think a big part of the problem is people cast their attention too far into the past or the future, mm-hmm. which I know in my own personal experience can immobilize you from accepting the present and actually acting in the present to make a change. Sometimes people might get comfortable and think that something dramatic and transformative isn't even really in the cards for them. Mm-hmm. While they may hold on to hope that things could get better in the future, their mind is busy just cranking out these programs of how to keep them comfortable in the moment and getting through, mm-hmm. The moment. I think for a lot of people, focus on the past or the future, even when it's uncomfortable, is still a distraction. And, again, getting back to committing to making a change, I really do think it starts with the belief. And, in Psych-K, for example, when we're talking about high-speed mindset change, the change is necessary to shift your beliefs and behaviors for the better. It can happen in a span of minutes, but it's the whole point of how do you get there in the first place. Mm-hmm. It's not a matter of just pulling the plug on programs that weren't working for you in the past. You have to have a story, a picture of how you will be, what your personality will be like, what your temperament, your characteristics will be in the future. And a lot of people, I think, kind of having given up on the possibility of real change, real transformation, may not have really put a lot of effort into getting clear on the details.
Well, because they get stuck. We get stuck. I know for myself that when I was going through unhealthy relationships, I was always afraid of what was going to be on the other side. I was afraid of the pain. I didn't want to deal with the pain. But once we deal with the pain once and really figure it out and get to the root of it, then we don't have to feel that same pain again. But for a lot of us, we keep stuck and we feel like we're trapped, like there's nothing we can do, because we start feeling that pain and then we back off. Where if we feel that pain, feel it maybe a little bit more, push through it and learn the lesson that's there for us to learn, we can actually move on where actual change is possible.
Well, that's, I think, really at the core of it. And the things that keep us stuck are these unprocessed emotions, because ideally we should be free. We should be free of the past, and free of the future, really, free of, unnecessary expectations, and really should be able to, enjoy the moment.
Well, it's like Eckhart Tolle that talks about the power of now. We live now. Every moment is now. There's no past or future. All those things are our connection to those things. So all that anxiety and that stress you're feeling of what happened to you before or what could happen to you in the future, they're not real anymore. It's right now that you're living. It's right now that you're experiencing life. And right now that every moment is a possibility for creating whatever it is that you want to create.
Well, that's just it. And I think that's probably at the heart of the lesson here, that change only ever happens now. And people who might be hesitant to make a real worthwhile investment in themselves are considering that, if-then sort of equation, where it's, something might shift that make it easier, fall into their laps more, or when it comes time to, draw the line in the sand, and actually take a chance, be bold and daring, take a chance on yourself. That's when, whatever courage and character you can muster is going to come to bear. And, I think it's also worthwhile saying, and this comes from personal experience, that change doesn't have to be difficult. And, you could look at it as, you can try to be strong and persist and overcome your obstacles by turning your attention elsewhere. But realistically, anything that's stressing you on any level, anything that's holding you back, you really owe it to yourself to deal with it and get it out of the way, because, while it might seem scary to face the things that at your core have been, shaping your existence and a whole host of emotions that go with it, fear, anxiety, stress, bitterness, guilt, regret, all of that stuff. Well, like Steph said, there are lessons to be learned in our adversity. And once you muster the courage and face your fear and actually pick up this mental garbage and get rid of it with a proven process, and really...
and that could be either your psyche or, like with coaching, I call that the incompletes, is the things that you need to finish in order to move on to the next thing. And just to jump in for a second, because I was kind of laughing before as you were saying something about when are you going to change. I mean, the amount of times that I've heard people say, well, I'm going to quit smoking when I'm done with this stressful event, or I'm going to start eating better when work is better, or I'm going to pay for a coach when I have more money and things are better. And if you keep doing that, next thing you know, another year has gone by and change has still not happened, because you can always say you're going to wait for something else to happen. It's the decision now that you need to make and say, today, now I'm going to make the decision to start making changes and create the life that I want.
Yeah, well, I think it comes down to realizing that happiness doesn't exist at some point in the future or at some point in the past. It's as they say, never too late to start making new plans. And, realistically, I don't see any reason why every day shouldn't hold the potential to create miracles. And I asked myself, was I worthy enough to participate in that? And truthfully, I'm seeing more and more evidence all the time that, yes, I am worthy and that we're all worthy. And I'm certainly grateful to be part of a group that supports this rising awareness and empowerment, because there is a bigger context for all this change. I mean, everyone's going through it. You're not alone. But we're all going through a tough time individually and collectively. We're all being called, I think, to face the things that we really know we've needed to change for a long, long time. Let's put these burdens down. They don't define us, and we can create space for miracles to come in. And
there's abundance.
you know,
It's not like you can only get a little bit of love. There is more than enough love for everybody to have a lot of. It's not like you can just get a little bit. You only get to, we want to like push out a little bit, like, oh, you get a little tiny bit of love, and you get no. We all get lots.
Rationing
and lots.
it?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, there's no rationing.
Well.
We get to have as much as an overabundance if we open our heart to it.
Well, not only love, but I think I know what's been a huge benefit for me is the sense of peace of mind, knowing that life doesn't have to be a struggle. And I've reached the point where it's not even about chasing happiness and thinking that happiness is the only worthwhile thing, because I have a sense of abiding peace just from having faced my challenges, and I still have more to go, still have work to do.
There's always work to do.
But I have a greater resiliency and a higher base level of just peace of mind, which to me is invaluable. And, we're going through hell on earth right now, and if we're going to make it through the other side and actually usher in an era of peace, I think we have, not only do we each owe it to ourselves, but we owe it to one another and humanity to face our challenges, stop placing blame on other people. Look at whatever it is that is shadowy in yourself that needs to be exposed to the light. Get rid of the stuff that's not working for you. And you know what? Now's the time. Be bold, be brave, invest in yourself, and reach out to like-minded people who are going through the same thing and are seeing a pretty bright ray of hope in a otherwise dark world. So,
and the thought of what we get to do at Mind and Body Awakenings of helping people create the best version of themselves. And whenever I think about it, it makes me teary just thinking about how wonderful it would be if everybody really lived to the best of their ability. Like if everybody really was feeling that joy and that passion and that excitement for life and that abundance and all those wonderful things that are possible. I mean, everything would be wonderful. And it's when we start really looking at ourselves that we can actually make that happen for us. And we would love to be able to help you through that.
Yeah. You got to recognize that change is possible and you are worthy of it. So, on that note, cheers, baby.
Cheers.